that collects, analyzes uh, facts. I don't know if I got this right. Data on machines. I'll let him explain it better than I can. But Leonard's an expert. He's got a long career in cloud computing and network security, process improvement. He was a professor teaching cyber. He was a CISO at a company called Clayton and an ISSO at the Defense Reduction Agency. Do I have that right? Is that? Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's right. So anyway, Leonard, thank you, man, for being with us. These are all transitioning service members. A good chunk of them are interested in tech and cyber. But I think a lot of the lessons that you'll be able to share will apply to everyone, regardless of what they want to do. So thank you for spending some time with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordy. Appreciate it.
You got it, man. So tell everyone a little bit about your military career and what you did and what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, thank you all for taking time out of your morning to let me chat with you. Um, Nothing's more important than time and attention because it's a finite resource, and that's one thing we don't get more of. So, thank you all. So, I come from a long line of veterans. Both my grandfathers were in the military. One served in World War II, another in the Korean War. My dad just actually recently retired from the Tennessee National Guard. He spent 30 some years in the Navy, Marines, and the Army, which led me to joining the Air Force because he was in all the other branches. And he said, "Hey, you're not talking to any other recruiter besides the Air Force recruiter." So, you know, but I joined straight out of high school. Actually joined the delayed entry program when I was 17, left as soon as I could right after I graduated high school. And I was a nuclear weapons technician by trade, but I joined just like I think Keaton was talking about, video games and computers and stuff. Is I was a nerd. I'm still a nerd, still a geek for computers, and I wanted to work on computers. And then the Air Force said, "Hey, how about some bonus money not to take a computer job?" And as a 17-year-old, they throw a bunch of money in front of you, and you're like, "Okay, cool, I'll do that." Like, what's the worst that could happen, right? And so, it's it all worked out. I met my wife when we were in the military. We eventually dated after we both were out. We now have an 11-year-old. We live here in Eastern Tennessee, just outside Knoxville. As Jordy mentioned, also a professor. I've taught at the University of Central Florida, NYU, NJIT, all up and down the Eastern coast. But I'm also a professor at the University of Tennessee. However, I am a huge Georgia Bulldog fan, so I'm excited for about 2 weeks because Georgia's going to be coming to town, and it's going to be a fun game. So, Chuck said, "What could happen? My night, that's going to happen." I spent one winter in my night, and that was more than enough time to spend in my night. Yeah, reason's the reason, right? So, um, but with that, my journey was really unique because I did join to work on computers, and eventually I was in the maintenance career field, and they were like, "Hey, we need somebody to work in the logistics office that knows computers." So I raised my hand, and eventually that time of volunteering to take that position led to me going to eventually work for the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, where I was a security engineer and then became an ISSO, ISSM, and oversaw 4 or 5 networks there at the end, and we were consolidating down to 3. And then if any of you are doing those jobs now, there was a big change from DICAP to NIST RMF, and my job became very paperwork heavy, and I was just working in EMAS and doing all the controls, and I didn't enjoy it anymore. So in short, I decided to take a chance and go to the private world. And what was really interesting, talking about my story to where you are, is I left on a Thursday, Friday in uniform, came back on a Monday in a polo shirt and khakis instead of wearing the uniform. But when I left, after 15 years in the DoD world, when I left DoD and went to civilian, that was the huge change for me. And I actually had to take a step back. I took a large pay cut. I went from having a TS SCI working a contract in a network that I had known for 15 years to something I had never done before. And that was really eye opening to me. Luckily, in the cybersecurity world, there are always veterans and people who have been in your shoes. So I actually worked with a couple of vets, and so working with them and having conversations helped me transition from that private or from the public world of DoD to the private world. So it was it was it was definitely eye opening, and but hands down, I would go through my journey. I would go through everything again. I would still get out. I would still probably do the same things I did because it's led me to where I am today. So
Awesome. And tell everyone a little bit about Splunk and what the company does, and specifically what you do there as a leading cyber guy.
awesome. Thanks, Shorty. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know who Splunk is, Splunk has been around since 2003. They are a very large data analytics program software. Um, DoD is one of the largest users of Splunk, but Splunk is at the end of its core a data analytics platform, as Jordy mentioned. We have Splunk has been a leader in the cybersecurity industry, recognized as a leader for the past decade, and on the observability side, been a leader for the past 4 years. So Splunk is the only leader in both platforms, recognized by Gartner, all the industry analysts. Splunk is the only one that has a leading that is a leader in both categories. For those of you that may know who Cisco has been around for 40 years, founded in San Francisco, which is where it gets its name from. The largest network provider on the globe. Cisco acquired Splunk. The intent to buy was 2 years ago for $28 billion. It is still, I believe, the second largest software acquisition to date. So day to day, what I do is I support the observability team. So observability, when you think about technology and you think about what's happening outside of cybersecurity, we monitor application performance monitoring. So we can look at the way I describe it is we're the dashboard in your car. We let you know when you're low on fuel. We let you know when there's low air pressure. We let you know how fast you're going. We let you know your RPMs. We give you all that telemetry so that leaders like yourself can make decisions on, hey, we may need to pull over and put some gas in, or we need to take actionable steps. So on a day-to-day basis, I had the pleasure of working directly with customers, listening to them, and being able to map their business outcomes of what they want to accomplish, leveraging my technical background and having those conversations. One of the things that I focus on based on my experience is I'm blending that cybersecurity and observability world. Because a lot of times, if for the tech folks on the call, is you have developers who write code, and then you have cybersecurity professionals. Usually butt heads, usually don't get along that well. And so one thing that I'm trying to do is really blend that. And in cybersecurity, we always talk about confidentiality, integrity, and availability, the CIA triad. And I like to pick on my fellow cyber folks and say, hey, what do you do for availability? Like, how do you know everything's up and running at its best? And they're like, well, that's not my job. That's the developer's job. Okay, well, how do you know it's not a nation state attacker that's taking down your application? How do you know that the telemetry coming from the application isn't malicious? And so that's what I've been tasked to do with my role here at Cisco and Splunk.
Thanks for sharing all that. What do you like about working in cyber? What are some of the people who are listening in who are considering this career path on the civilian side? What are some of the things they should look out for? What are some of your recommendations of where they should get started if they're, a lot of people are making pivots into this area. So love to hear your thoughts on that.
Great question, Jordy. I think the reason that I like cyber so much is that it's constantly changing. I mean, there isn't a day that goes by that you don't see in the news. There's a new zero-day exploit. A company got hacked. You see all of this stuff. And to me, the reason that I like cyber so much is the change. It's constantly evolving. There's a lot happening there. But one reason that I'm really passionate about it is a lot of the cyber attacks that happen are coming from bullies. They're taking advantage of people, whether it's nation state actors that are trying to perform espionage, or a teenager living in a basement trying to scam my you know grandmother for money and take advantage of that, right? So I view myself as wanting to be in cyber because I want to continue that defense mindset of I want to protect people, I want to give back, I want to help. So the combination of the constant changing and evolution of cybersecurity, combined with just continuing to help. And if any of you have been following cybersecurity or technology, we saw a significant uptick in in ransomware attacks in 2016, 2017, when uh, cyber cyber insurance became a thing because attackers realized people would pay. So another thing too, just to add to this, is there's an Air Force veteran. Actually, he went back in the Army Reserves. I think he's in the National Guard now. Rob M. Lee. He went to the Air Force Academy. He is now Lieutenant Colonel in the reserves, and he he's the president and founder CEO of Dragos, and they specialize in operational technology infrastructure. And recently, earlier this year, he testified before Congress and said 95% of our critical infrastructure in the United States is unprotected. And with that, you got to think that's like your traffic lights, that's your water systems, that's the electrical grid. It's all of our critical infrastructure that we as Americans depend upon for safety, security, and reliability. So Jordy mentioned earlier that I like to highlight that I build digital resilience. That's a big thing for me. Is, as you know, in life, especially as a veteran, we're going to have storms. We're going to get hit with things. We're going to have ups. We're going to have a lot of downs. But it's how we as individuals and we as companies be resilient and get through the storm. It isn't how we recover after the storm. It's like, how do we weather and get through the storm and make it out on the other side? So,
Yeah, it's good. Do you feel there's still a lot of opportunity for people who want to go down this path, or is it tougher to get started getting that first job? Where are some good places that folks should look, where the maybe growing spots are for tech and cyber?
Jordy, if you'd asked me this question 3 years ago, I'd have a completely different answer.
Yeah, it changes so quickly. Yeah.
I think right now is one of the toughest times in my 20 plus year career that I've seen in tech to get into tech. And I think there's a combination of three things high level. One is the global or geopolitical environment. And I'm talking everything from, the lack of uncertainty, tariffs, like throw all the stuff in the geopolitical world is one thing. Because what's happening is companies are a little scared because of uncertainty, so they're a little more bearish, so to speak, on spending money, creating jobs, and making things happen and investing in their companies because they don't know where things are going, related to inflation, consumer spending, all the macroeconomic pieces. The second thing is in recent history, because I'd say recent, in the past 5 years since the pandemic started, we saw a lot of entry level tech jobs shipped overseas, to Poland, Ukraine, India, Brazil, Venezuela. Like, we've seen it shipped outside the United States. So a lot of entry level jobs got shipped outside the country, just like we saw in the 80s and 90s with manufacturing jobs. A lot of those went overseas. Now we're seeing entry level IT jobs. But what that has done is it has created a vacuum, and it's really unsustainable because now it's like, okay, well, how do we get people to these senior jobs if they can't get at entry level jobs? The third thing that I would add is the AI. Like, it's 2025. We can't have a conversation without talking about AI, right? Is a lot of companies are making the assumption they can do less with AI, kind of proving that it's actually not what a lot of people thought it was going to be. What we're seeing now is we need people, and this kind of leads into what you're saying, Jordy, is like, where do people go? Is we're seeing a lot of people that know how to use AI are actually getting the leg up. It isn't that AI is replacing jobs. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it isn't going to replace jobs because we've seen it happen, but we see people that can leverage AI as a force multiplier. So,
Yeah, yeah, that makes
yeah.
so. Do you feel, I mean, would you recommend anyone who wants to go down the tech path, whatever field that is, whatever job, you got to get versed in AI. You got to start becoming skilled at how you can leverage that.
Yes. So two things. One is I tell my cyber students, and just like I'll tell you, don't be disappointed if your first job doesn't have cyber in the title.
Yeah.
Go do help desk, go do field technician. There are all these other jobs that have a layer of cybersecurity, that have a layer of tech in them. Just don't be disappointed if that first job, if you can't land your first job as cyber. The second piece of that is most of my students that are not veterans, that have like zero experience, I'm thinking like 22, 23-year olds, they go off and they do a job, but then within 3 years, they have the job that they want. Sometimes it's sooner, sometimes it's later, but the average is about 3 years. They have enough experience. A student I taught in 2021 is now director of applications for a large technology company in Florida, just because of his experience and being at the opportunity and luck and experience, right? So, uh,
Yeah.
uh, yeah.
That's great
So,
advice because, and that applies to everything. Like if somebody says, "Oh, it's hard to get into that field," yeah, you might have to take a little bit of a step back and
correct.
whatever the responsibility, the pay a little bit. But once you get your foot in the door, and then you could show everyone working there how great of a team member you are, that increases your chance, I would
Yeah.
imagine, to move up, and that's probably true in tech. So that's great. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
go. We got a few questions. So Larry,
Yeah.
why don't you go ahead?
Hey, Leonard, appreciate you coming on here, man. Nice to see a fellow vet IT guy stepping out.
Yeah.
Uh, so you talk about AI and taking a lot of or more of a active role in what people need to understand and how they do it right. And having spent 25 years in tech and Air Force, so as I get out, try and transition, how do you think we could leverage or even navigate our years of experience in the IT world to try and land some of these even mid level management jobs to upper level because you had talked that there's no one trained really to do that.
Love the question, Larry. And I think the biggest problem, and I suffer from this too, so I can speak, speaking, from making that transition, is a lot of time, the biggest mistake that we as veterans make, in my opinion, this is my opinion, right, is we take the job title, we take our roles and responsibilities, we take our performance reviews and said, this is what we did, right? So like I led 20 people, I did this, and here was the outcome. Very simplistic. What a lot of companies are looking for is for you to be able, Larry, to take your experience and translate it to outcomes. So, for example, you can say like IT director.
Somebody mute yourself, whoever that is. I don't know how to figure it out.
Dante, mute yourself, man.
Okay. Um,
Hot mic. Mayor,
Okay.
can you find that and mute it? Thanks.
but with that being said, is coming back, Larry, is taking like, hey, I was the IT director, and I reduced mean time to resolution or mean time detection, just being able to relate it to business outcomes. Don't state your roles and responsibilities, but talk about like what the outcome was. Because what interviewers, like myself and others that I'm sure have presented and talked here, is we're looking for what you're capable of doing, what you have done, right? It isn't necessarily like I had this title and I did this thing. But also on that same front, one thing that I learned is I saw all the chats popping up about LinkedIn and so forth, is your job title. Like if I put nuclear weapons technician on my resume, no one in IT is going to look at me. They're like, what is this? Okay, cool. Like that sounds fun, but like, what does it mean? Put the title in civilian terms. So if you were, a controller or whatever military job you had, put the job that like is related to civilians, so they understand, because there's a lot of disconnect in how we as vets talk, we as active duty versus how the civilian world talks. So being able to relate your job title and your experience to civilian terms. And going back to AI, ChatGPT is a phenomenal tool to be able to help you do that as well. But don't be afraid to put a different title, because at the end of the day, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, all it is a ticket to the interview. It doesn't guarantee you a job. It doesn't guarantee you that your success, but it's your ticket. So, but the one thing that I would caution everyone about, though, is whatever you put on your LinkedIn, whatever you put on your resume is fair game. So if you put it on there, you better be able to talk about it. Don't lie, but be able to map that. So that's what I'd recommend, Larry.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna ask follow up and let these other people get a hold of you. But I see a lot of requirements for AWS and cloud computing and experience in AI and experience with all this. That's all relative to basically what your unit was willing to pay for, right? Although it's technology, and we know as military we're able to adapt. How can we better articulate that?
So two things. I think that a lot of companies do everyone a disservice in general related to requirements of jobs. Because if somebody had all of those requirements, they would be doing the job. Like if I had all those requirements, I'm going for that next job. I'm going for the next level up. Like I'm not looking for that. So two things there, Larry. One is if you think you can do 40% of the job or even 35% of the job, apply. Just apply. The second piece of that is if you're looking for certifications, if you're looking for anything, you can even put on your resume, this isn't a lie, but like actively pursuing AWS cloud, certified cloud practitioner, like put on there what training you're doing and what you're working towards. Because the main thing, once again, going back to the resume and your LinkedIn, it's just a ticket to the resume or ticket to the interview. Because at that point, once you get in front of someone, like Jordy's shaking his head, right? Like once you get in front of someone, it's a conversation like this and we get one-on-one and the rest of it just kind of goes out. So
yeah, that's great. Great. I love to be honest on your resume, but it's okay. Like the civilian could care less as long as you're describing the same role that you did, but put it in terms they're going to understand. So that's great advice. Michael.
Yeah, thanks for being able to take our questions, Leonard.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the things that I'm trying to work through, aside from trying to find a job that I can really excel in, especially in the IT leadership. I'm chasing some tall trees. But my question's more in all of us on the call, we're all spread out all across the United States and even abroad. What kind of so where we may not have all the certs that everybody's screaming for us to have, but we've got experience leading people and being in areas where we're using technology and we're using networks and servers and all that. What are ways that we can take that to a more micro level, to actually search out like local businesses, whether it be like smaller shops or even like mid-range shops that are, in our own locales, that we may be able to market ourselves to help manage their on-premise server or help to transition them from a server to a cloud or a hybrid situation, or just manage their, they're focused on, putting a product together or a service together. Let me manage your email server.
Yeah. So two things on that, Michael, is the first thing is finding someone local is actually a little more difficult than finding a large company. However, the probability of you landing a job with a local company is greater than landing a job with a bigger company. The best way that I have found is find local technology events. Cybersecurity events are like B-sides. I'll drop it in chat. It's called B-sides. There are other technology events. Look for local events and just meet with people, networking. I've hired more people that I've met in person than I have just cold resume that comes across my desk, because I can put a name to the face. I know, because let's be realistic. y'all are experienced. You've been around long enough to understand. You would rather hire someone and work with someone that you can sit by for 8 hours than somebody who has all the credentials. Like, I don't want to hire jerks. I don't want to hire people that I don't want to sit beside. I want to hire people that I want to work with because I can send them to training. You can go learn the technical skills. The second piece of that though is when we talk about certifications in technology, there are two things that I would take away from this. One, if you want to continue to work for the government, certifications are absolutely required. Hands down, DOD, what is it? Not 5210, 8570, or whatever the rule is now. I've been out of that space for a while, but you're required to have those. On the civilian side, certifications are good, but they are a level of credential that you use in place of experience. So 22-year-old graduating from college with a cybersecurity degree doesn't have any experience, so they go out and get Security Plus. They go out and get another CompTIA certification or what have you, AWS, CCP, whatever alphabet soup certifications they want. That's a level of credential that shows that you understand the lingo, you can speak it, and you have a level of understanding, but it doesn't replace experience. So for you as a veteran transitioning active duty, reserve, wherever you are in your career, you have a level of credential that is experience. So certifications are great. They're a plus. There's like, it's icing on the cake, but if your level of experience weighs so much more than if you have a CISSP, Security Plus, whatever certification you may have.
I appreciate that, especially in the by looking at more, as some of us are looking at more mid to upper level positions. I want to be familiar with what's happening.
Yeah.
But I want to be more involved with hiring and employing the people that know and are in the weeds of these programs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. Yimne, go ahead. I don't know if I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing.
Oh, that's all right. Good morning, Leonard. My name is Yimnai, and I am actually really excited that you're here today to talk to us about Splunk because this is not the first time I've heard of Splunk. Matter of fact, I know you mentioned DoD uses Splunk, and unfortunately, I'm not one of those people that have experience in Splunk, but I know that the LCS ships at Mayport on board the ITs uses and utilize Splunk. And I looked up into it, and I think it's such a cool and great tool because you guys have, from my understanding, is a dashboard that detects real-time security events to prevent, threats and anomalies and things of the sort. And I think it's such a useful tool. Even though I haven't utilized Splunk, but I have back in the day, we had HBSS. I'm not sure if you utilize HBSS.
Oh.
I'm really showing my age here. I know.
Yeah.
I have a love-hate relationship with HBSS, but I do see a familiarity with HBSS in relations to Splunk. But now we have ESS, which I think is great. And so overall, my question to you is, do you guys have any internship opportunities or SkillBridge opportunities for us here in the Jacksonville, Mayport area, considering the fact that, we do have users on board a ship on our waterfront here that utilizes it?
Great question. You got me thinking about something. I'm going to drop it in the chat right now before I forget. Splunk offers free training to all veterans. Just dropped it in the chat. It's worth a lot of money. You just have to use your ID.me account to sign up for it. Take advantage of it. Whether it's Splunk, whether Jose says Splunk, because I get it. There are a lot of competitors in the space, but just go do whatever training that makes sense. But yeah, I agree. HBSS, it kind of made me twitch there a little bit. I was an EPO admin for years, managed multiple environments. The cryptographically isolated networks, the air gap networks are always the pain, but you can translate that experience to Splunk experience, right? Because when we talk about cybersecurity, we talk about tech, software, cyber is cyber. Like the fundamentals are the same and the tools will change. Like Splunk, when I first used it, first time I ever got my hands on it was 2010. It doesn't even look the same, doesn't even act the same. Like it's changed so much. So if you've managed, if you've been an admin, if you've been a domain admin, if you've done those jobs, and you can translate it. The second piece of that is you talked about internship. Cisco and Splunk do internships, I believe, year round now. So there are different cohorts. They do internships all year round. I'm not 100% sure about the SkillBridge piece, but the veterans group inside of Splunk and Cisco is extremely large. And Jordy, I can go do some research. I can get back to you if you can share
Yeah,
it
it'd be
with this
awesome.
cohort.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. But the course, listen, he's offering a free training. I mean, that sounds like that could help anybody in cyber, right? You would
Yes.
recommend it. So I'd take him up on that, man. That's incredible to have that on your resume. So cool. Thank you for that question. Matt, go ahead, bud.
Hey, I appreciate it, Leonard. Thanks for coming in today. So my question is, again, as a relatively new person to the cybersecurity field, going through the program here in SkillBridge to try and gain some more credentials. One of the things I've noticed is I'm inundated every day by organizations that are like, hey, we got this ability to teach you this cyber skill. There's a new master's in cybersecurity program that's coming up. I mean, going through all this stuff takes just an inordinate amount of time, and you're not going to gain any experience while you're going through all this training and trying to get these credentials. So I guess the question to you is, does Splunk or Cisco or do any of these companies see the value in maybe just creating their own training pipeline within their own company so that you guys can take people with no experience, build them up from scratch inside your own organization and teach them what they need to know to function as you need them, and get them that experience a little bit quicker? Because I mean, if we all go out and do, another master's degree or something, I mean, we're talking about years before we can actually get practical application. What's the fastest way to kind of just get in the game and get into a company if you're starting out and you just don't have all these credentials built up yet?
So Matt, I appreciate the question, but you're probably not going to like my answer. So high level, the hardest job that it is going to take for you to land is the first one out of the military. If you don't work as part, like I did, left on a Friday and the uniform, came back on a Monday in civilian clothes, it is going to be extremely hard. Your first job is going to be the hardest one. But once you get that first job and you have that, hey, I work at Wells Fargo in the IT department. Once you have that, then you're going to be able to bounce quickly. Going back to your question about training, Cisco and Splunk has internal training. Other large software companies, other large technology companies have that training. When I was at Clayton, we didn't have internal training, but I would go fight every year to get $50,000 of training for my team. So I go fight, and then I would send all my team to training. So Matt, that's a great interview question. When you're talking, you're sitting across the table or Zoom from an interviewer, say, hey, what do you do for training? Like, what does the training calendar look like? Do I get money? Is it internal training? Like, ask those types of questions, because that's going to give you two things. It's going to tell you how the company views investment in training. And then also, is that a company you really want to work for? I couldn't agree more about like a master's program. I went back and got my MBA. I think I was 4 years into my civilian career. So it was like 4 years later, I decided to go back to school. So, landing your first job you're probably going back to what I was saying earlier. You're probably going to take a job title that you may not necessarily love, but it gets your foot in the door. If you look at Splunk or Cisco or anyone, like any of my peers on LinkedIn, they change jobs. People that want to do more, you can change jobs like every 10 to 12 months. Like people do that. Once you get in, you network, shake hands, kiss babies, move around and move from team to team. But the hardest part is that first jump from military to civilian. It is, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's easy, because it's not. But once you land that first job, then you have that credential, then you have that level of experience, and then other companies, other hiring managers will see that, and so you have to worry less about your credentials, your degree, cybersecurity certifications, etc. hopefully that helps answer the question.
That's a great question though, Matt, because that applies in a lot of industries, not just cyber, right? Where it's like, how do you just break in? Just give me open the door just a little bit
Yes.
for me, and then once I'm in, I know you guys all have the appeal, the work ethic, the grit, the toughness that is going to impress the hiring manager. But it's just exactly what Leonard said. You got to be creative. You're going to have to work a little harder if you want to get into a competitive field, like cyber, like sports, like music, where you have a lot of people applying. But Jose put in the chat here, like you can do some hands-on home building lab stuff. Like, do you recommend for these guys, Leonard, like, they have 3 months here where go figure out a way to just develop your own experience, whatever that is. Maybe Matt, you're just starting out, but can he go to some small businesses who don't have a cyber presence and come in there and do something for them to just have stories to talk about in interviews that set him apart from the other entry level guys? Then we'll go to CJ with the first question.
Yeah, so really high level. I'm gonna get a link for y'all. It's making me log into because I'm actually on my company computer right now. But I'm with Jose. Like I am a nerd. I am a geek. Like we're talking about this. I think Keaton was talking about the video games. Like I have a whole lab. I have probably 7 or 8 computers in the house that I tinker with and mess with from time to time. You don't have to do that. Like you don't have to go out and buy used equipment. If you like that, absolutely go do it. Do that, but you don't have to. But you can add it to the resume. If you want to, if either you're in cyber or looking at cyber, I know I keep talking about 2, but I like the power of 2 and 3 to keep it simple. But there are 2 things that I always look for as a hiring manager. Number 1, are you motivated? I can give you training, I can give you time, I can do all this stuff, but I cannot give you motivation. Either you want to do it or you don't want to do it. Like I can't give you motivation. And the second piece is the best security folks are curious. Like they're just like, how does this work? Like, and they pick up, like as a kid, you tore apart a radio controlled car, or you just took things apart just to see how it worked. Right. So I think that yeah, you can do home labs. I think that it is phenomenal if you have the time and energy and resources to want to do it. There's also, but coming back real quick, Cisco, in addition to the Splunk training I added, Cisco has Net Academy, I forget what they call it. It's basically Network Academy. There's free training for veterans. I've dropped it into chat. There is a it's called Military Credentialing Assistance Program. It is Cisco University, but there are ways for you to leverage that. So one thing that I would encourage you to do, in addition to Splunk and Cisco, is go out there. If you work with a certain technology, I just saw Jesse's name pop up, Python developer. If you just go out there and see what's out there for free, like, and just search like Python military veteran. There's so much out there that companies want to do for veterans. Take advantage of it.
Yeah,
absolutely take advantage of it.
That's great. CJ, go ahead, bud.
Hey, thanks, Jordy. And Leonard, really appreciate your time today. I kind of want to take it in a little different direction as far as your background is concerned. Okay. So you've taught at the university level in various places, and I'm wondering if you can just kind of give us a brief look into how you got into doing that. And noting you went for your MBA like 4 years after you got out. How did you get into teaching in universities? And thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the question, CJ. So really high level, when I left active duty, I went in the reserves for about 4 years, and I was actually an instructor for that 4 years. So that's kind of the start. I'm also, I wanted to be, if you're familiar with troops to teachers, I actually considered doing that. And I think teachers are incredible resources. However, they're highly underpaid. So when I looked at doing troops to teachers, I saw how much the salary was. I was like, well, I could just stay in and make more money than doing troops teacher. So I always had a passion for teaching and upskilling and helping other people. So it started with my training when I was an instructor in the reserves. And then the second piece of that was I started volunteering to teach, and then just got my name out there. And I met someone, actually a recruiter reached out to me because they saw a LinkedIn post that I was teaching something. And he was like, hey, we're hiring. And I told him no 3 times. And then the third time I was like, well, at this point, the pandemic was underway. And I was like, okay, well, I'm stuck at home anyway, so let's check this out. So just got my name out there, and that's really how it happened. But I'm sure Jordy has talked about this, and you've probably heard it ad nauseum from others. LinkedIn, as much as I like to make fun of the LinkedIn lunatics and all the BS that's on LinkedIn, it is a phenomenal resource for you to network and connect with people. So.
Good question, CJ. Thank you. Vanessa, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand.
Oh, okay. No sweat. All right. We're going to go. Michael, I'm just going to skip you for 1 second. I'll come back to you. I want to make sure we have time. So Ryan Hicks is on. He's going to, I don't know if you want to ask a question too, but we also practice here, Leonard, elevator pitches. So I asked Ryan to volunteer and we'd love to get your opinion on what you like, what you don't like, what he can do to improve. So if Ryan was kind enough to volunteer and say his pitch for you. So Ryan, go ahead, buddy.
Hey, Leonard, at first I want to go ahead and thank you for being here and discussing. You actually brought up something talking about with the resume and stuff like that I've kind of felt myself struggling with and stuff like that. So to hear your kind of input on all of that kind of made it feel a little bit more comfortable for me. But so here I go with the elevator pitch. So I'm Ryan Hicks. I'm a veteran with 21 years of the Navy where I specialized in signal analysis and controlling the electromagnetic spectrum. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is I made enemy radars hate their lives. I'm transitioning into tech where I'm exploring roles that bridge the gap between technical experts, decision makers, yes, and even the customer. I've led teams of 16 where I learned that real leadership is measured by results, growth, and impact, not by rank or title. I've integrated multinational operations, guided mission strategy through technical insight, and fostered leadership growth through hands-on coaching. I'd love to learn more about what skills or experience have made others successful in your team. Could we set up a time to talk?
Awesome, Ryan. I appreciate that. You've practiced that, haven't you? It's not your first time doing it.
Yeah, I've actually past couple of days I've been walking around like kind of like practicing it. My wife looked at me like I'm crazy. She's like, "Oh, you're practicing your elevator pitch."
That was awesome.
No, I love it. I think, one of the things I would add, and this is for everyone, when you think about your elevator pitch, sometimes you have 15 seconds in front of someone and just simply sticking out your hand and saying, "Hi, I'm Leonard. I'd like to learn more about what you do." Sometimes that's all the time you have. Love the elevator pitch. I love how you were able to map like your background, leadership, and where you want to go. And you weren't asking me for anything more than my time. I love that, right? Like, because now I'm like, okay, I've got a veteran in front of me, which I'm extremely biased towards, but like I got a veteran with experience. I want to learn more about radar stuff, and anything related to signals always interests me. But like now you've got me curious. I want to learn more, and let's go grab coffee. Let's have a conversation. Like that. Absolutely. I love that, because the one thing is you got to separate yourself from the crowd, and you got to have something unique like that grabs somebody's attention, right? And just asking for, and we talk about this in sales. If any of you are interested in sales, we always talk about sales is all you're ever looking for in sales is the next meeting. You're not asking for anything right now. You're like, "Hey, can we talk next Thursday at noon? Okay, if that doesn't work, can we talk Friday at 1? Like you're just looking for the next meeting, and being audible ready and being able to tailor your message to the time and the person you have, I think is extremely important. But great job. I think that was great.
That was well, man. Yeah, thank you for those comments. That was perfect. Thank you for doing that, Ryan. It's really getting good. He did it prior, like a week ago, and this was such a better version. So good job, man. I could tell you're practicing all that stuff. So thank you. All right. So last question from Michael Kelly. Go ahead, bud.
All right, so I want to go back to the home lab thing, and because there's very much a idea of what home labbing is, and playing with things, breaking things, figuring out how it works again. But just bounce this off to you to see if what I'm doing or what I've kind of been taught would actually help me in an interview rather than just being another thing. Is the catch-22 with you need experience to get the job, but you can't get experience to get the job, right? Which plagues the cybersecurity world. What I was taught by somebody was to create the experience and kind of in the world of home labbing, but a different kind of focus than just like playing with stuff to break it to figure it out. So get your hypervisor out, and download a VM for Windows Server, and then download and formulate 16 other VMs for Windows 10 computers at the time, Windows 10 computers. Now go back to LinkedIn and get a list of all the job requirements for a good handful of jobs that are for a similar job, and get a list in the top items that are on all those lists for being able to do. And you go to your VM, you buy a domain name so you can have a website that you put online for the company, and then you have that domain attached to your Windows Server. And I'm trying to say this is as elementary level as I can. And then you are the cyber person for that company. And all those things that you do for those computers, and you document what you're doing with those computers. Just as if you're going to be at any other company doing things with any of their computers, just virtual. How much does that weigh going into an interview where, say, I don't have the cert, but this is what I built, and this is what I architect, and this is what I maintained.
So anytime it comes to home labs, because it's context dependent. And Michael, coming back to your question, which I think is a great question, is how I did cybersecurity engineering and architecture in DoD was completely different than how I do it in my last job and how we do it here at Cisco and Splunk. It's completely different, right? Because I don't have TS, SCI, I don't have 6,000 CCIs to comply with. I don't have all that. So Michael, regardless if it's Windows, Linux, Mac, whether you're using a hypervisor, using hard terminals, you're using Cisco equipment or competitor or whatever, the key is the critical thinking process. And Cisco and actually other companies teach this, is a lot of it comes down to the fundamentals of 80% of the issue is how you approach the issue. It isn't necessarily the technology behind it. So if you can talk about, hey, I set up a home lab, I have 5 virtual servers, I applied security policies via GPOs, I applied networking hardening via DoD STIGs or whatever. It's that level of conversation that will get you further in the interview versus I had 5 servers versus 10 servers or what have you. A lot of hiring managers are looking for that curiosity and level of experience. And then also, not to keep coming back to this, but that first job allows you to get into the company and allows people to understand what you're capable of. So don't be afraid that first job to take a job that necessarily isn't the job title you want.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Leonard, this was awesome, buddy. I really
Thanks.
appreciated this. So much, again, of what he said today. I know is cyber focused, but it applies to everything, no matter what you guys want to go into. So much of these lessons and these strategies and tips, but thank you for spending an hour with us. We truly appreciate you. Congrats on all your career success, man. And we'll definitely get you back.
Yeah. Jordy, thanks so much. I guess just real quick, departing notes is I dropped a link, and I've dropped it 3 times, to Jason Blanchard's How to Hunt for a Job Like a Hacker. It is free. You pay what you want. It is free training. It is a 6-hour course. I am huge on this course because it got me a $40,000 raise. So,
wow, that's awesome.
So I'm telling you, go take the training. It will be worth your time.
All
go
right.
do it. I'm telling you right now, it's worth your time. Just do it. And then also, I dropped my LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I may be slow to respond, but Jordy, team, thank y'all so much. You're in a great spot transitioning. The SkillBridge, all of this transition stuff was not there when I transitioned, 15 years ago. I'm love to see that you all are taking the time investing in it, because at the end of the day, just like everything else we've talked about, if you don't put anything into it, you're not going to get anything out of it. So continue to invest in yourself. And one thing that I will just say, this is my last comment. You're just getting started. Remember, people like me, people that you see on LinkedIn and you see this, we've been doing this in the civilian world for much longer than you. So show yourself some grace, show yourself some compassion. You're just starting. You're just out of the gate. So don't give up. Keep moving forward, and you will success looks however you want it to look. Yep. And that's okay.
Well said, man. I love it.
Thanks.
Good closing remarks, man. Leonard, thank you, buddy.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Y'all take care.
All right. All right. So we'll get started in another